Welcome to the official YouTube channel for the Colin Cowherd podcast. Go on, hit the subscribe button. There you go, right down there. If you want to be among the first to hear my weekly takes, NFL, college football, more, right there. Nick Wright is about ready to stop on by. We got a million things to talk about. Go chop it up for about an hour. Before he does, download the Game Time app. It'll take you 90 seconds. Put in the code, grab your smartphone, Game Time app, take you 90 seconds. Put in the code Colin. That's the redeem code. That's me, COLIN. $20 off your first purchase. What's great about Game Time is the prices go down the closer you get to tip-off or first pitch or kickoff. A lot of times you get these killer deals and you want to go to a game and you don't make up your mind until, like, I've done this, 90 minutes before a game. You call a buddy and you're like, I'm going to go to the Dodgers. I got a ticket. You want to go to the Dodgers? Or you don't have a ticket. And you go to the Game Time app and get your tickets. It's just so easy. Zone deals, takes the guessing out of tickets. You show up, got your seats. Redeem code is Colin. That's me, COLIN. Easy stuff. Lowest prices guaranteed. Last minute tickets. Makes it so easy. Spur of the moment. Use the Game Time app. Get in. Great tickets. Zone deals. Crushes. All right, it's my buddy Nick Wright. We're going to chop it up for an hour. This is going to be fun. We disagree strongly on a couple of things. I think he's going to like one of my comps today. But let's just start talking about me and Tom Brady. Let's just start.
Can you know what? Can we? I have a confession to make, and then you do whatever you want to do. I did something wholly unprofessional today. The guy under the guise of complimenting and congratulating my friend, which is the moment Colin's show went to break, when I knew for a fact he was within arm's distance of Tom Brady, and I assumed all of our bosses. I made the most opportunistic FaceTime call of my life. Which was I FaceTimed Colin because I knew he was with Brady, and I'm like, this might be my best chance, just because if I'm being honest, you said you had a few cameos in one of Brady's documentaries. I damn near deserve royalties for how often I was featured in saying, "Oh, the end is nigh." And then he'd win a championship. And so I was hoping to maybe be like, "Hi, Tom. We'd love to have you on the show sometime. But either way, glad you're a teammate." And Colin graciously answered the call while he was basking in the afterglow of 30 minutes with Tom. But I didn't get that chance. But now go ahead, and that I've made that confession. Go ahead and say what your day was like.
Well, it was funny because I've said before, the only time, not that I got nervous, but when I was doing Barack Obama twice, I came in really prepared. Like if he threw me a curveball, even political, like I prepped for that for 2 days. And with Brady, I didn't feel I had to, but I knew the bosses would be watching. So the day starts, and all of a sudden I'm seeing management all over the studio. I'm like, guys, I got this. Don't forget to do. And remember, and I'm like, I started laughing at him. I'm like, you guys come down here for one reason. You're firing me, or I've got like somebody important on.
Yeah.
I've been doing this 30 years. I'm good. It's Tom Brady. Tommy talks. We're all good.
Yeah.
But it was funny to watch, because Brady's important for the company. And it's a big move. He's Tom Brady. It's Fox. It's the NFL. Greg Olsen was terrific. So you want to make sure he's good. I think they'll both be great. But there's just a lot of things going on here. So it was kind of a funny, strangely tense day. But the great part about it is Tom, for all that hovers around him, is just about as normal as you're going to get. Jeans, tennis shoes, just comes in. He's like, hey, it's great to meet you. Just Tom's like a nice guy. He really, how you've met people before and you think, they must have had good parents, right?
Sure.
Like, you can tell he's just very, very grounded. I mean, everywhere Tom goes, people are reaching at him, and he just couldn't be more normal and nice.
So I my experience with the interview is obviously exponentially different than yours. You're doing it, I'm watching it. But my takeaway was different. And I think that you and I both have enough credibility with the audience built up to know, like, we're not shills for anybody. We're going to be honest about what we think. But I found myself, edge of my seat is probably a touch too strong, but leaning in to every time he was even coming close to breaking down how he thought about football. And it made me really excited for how he's going to call games. Because there is this school of thought, and Tom said it in a kind way, but a lot of people there is a school of thought among some people that think the play-by-play and the color commentator is almost an overstated importance job because people are watching the game. People want to see the game. And I understand that in a lot of instances. In a lot of instances, I think it doesn't matter who's calling the game. We're watching the game. But I found myself just in this interview being like, oh, I really want to learn about how he processed and how his mind works when it comes to playing the quarterback position. And the stuff he was saying about how he would react to a different defensive look and the pregame prep that it took, all of that. And it made me super excited to hear him in real time, to watch a football game and get to see, because and now I'm going to be self-important. You're going to laugh at me. I think I am an elite football watcher. And by that, I mean, I think I am top 1% in the world at watching a game and noticing things like, I think that guy might have just tweaked something. Oh, I think they misspotted all of it. Yeah. And to be able to watch a game that Tom's watching and commenting on and see how many times, like, what he said, like, oh, I was thinking something similar, or oh, I had that wrong. I'm really excited for it. Like, I do think it is it is having, we had Magic Johnson call NBA games, but it wasn't really his strength. Like, having someone like that. And I'm going to add one other thing. I also think a uniqueness of it is so much of his superpower was his processing. So it's less about, I was able to do it because, like, I'll use Terry. I know Terry doesn't call games. Anyone that's ever been in a room with Terry Bradshaw, it's like, oh, a lot of the reason you're Terry Bradshaw is because, I don't know how old he is, but even at this age, you could kick everybody's ass in this room except for Howie Long. Like, you are a big, strong, but so much of Tom is I out prepared. So that came across in the 30 minutes you spent with him. I was worried you were going to take the interview into the first hour, first things first. I didn't think you were ever going to break. I was like, we might not be on the air today, boys.
Yeah, no, it's I kind of feel like this sounds weird, but every time I interview Tom, I feel it's a chapter. So I tried to stay today, because I'm going to interview him several more times. Yeah. I tried to stay in his I talked a lot about process today, about broadcasting, number one receivers, offensive line. So I wanted him to talk about process today. As the season comes upon us, it'll be more about the game, the moment. But I like today, all I thought about was, I want to introduce Tom, how he thinks to the audience. This is a process day. And he just tends to be the best processed athlete we've ever had. Yeah. So, you know how you said you're a 1% football watcher?
Yeah.
So football is such a collaboration sport that it is hard. That's why excellent GMs can struggle on quarterbacks, first-round wide receivers, first-round tight ends. I mean, have you ever noticed the position that rarely misses in the first round? It's guard, center.
Yeah.
Because if you have a weakness, you're protected. It's a strong unit. But a quarterback, a wide receiver, you're often doing your own thing, a corner. And so in football, even though I love the sport, it is hard to project how quarterbacks will work within the collaboration and the system. Are they smart enough? Are they coachable? Are they defensive, insecure? Are they confident but not cocky? I think in basketball, though it's my second favorite sport to all footballs, I am pretty accurate on something, is that because it's a more independent sport, I really pay attention to personality and interviews and how you respond to questions. And a European player, just because the culture is different than a domestic player, it's just different. The way they're taught, the way they grow up, they drink wine, they smoke more often. You know, it's a different culture. They tend to come in speaking multiple languages. You know, the European Union, it's a collective, whereas in America, it's the South is different than the West, is different than the Northeast. It's the French school system. There's a lot of, there's different. So I looked at personalities, and I've been right on a lot of players very early, whereas I didn't buy Westbrook. I was very much don't buy into Melo as a winning player or Derrick Rose. And the avalanche of criticism comes down that you don't know the sport, you don't watch it. But I think personality matters more in basketball because the individual matters so much more. It's not as big a collective. The Celtics are very unique. It's a collection more than it is a star. And this is where you and I disagree with Luka. I think you can coach people out of virtually anything except indifference. And I believe he is such an offensive prodigy. He is indifferent to defense, and it will never be great. Now you say, well, Kobe became a very good defensive player. Kobe's idol was Michael Jordan, who was a great defensive player. So players that idolized Michael all played defense. Most of them played the guys, the Kobe's. Michael played defense. That was part of his aura, was he was a hard ass.
Yes.
Who is Luka? Who is his idol? Who is his? I think he has much more in common with Melo, that he is so gifted offensively. Melo was better than LeBron offensively from initially. He was just more gifted.
Better shooter. Yeah, better scorer initially.
That I'm not sure that you'll ever convince Luka that defense matters.
So here's where I'm going to push back. So Luka is on the record when he came into the league that he grew up idolizing LeBron. LeBron is who he modeled his game after, and you see it. Now, he then signed with Jordan Brand, and all of a sudden, he's an MJ acolyte. It's amazing how that works out. But when Luka was, unsullied by endorsement, he was a big LeBron guy. Now, Luka is never going to be the athlete LeBron is. I really, and by the way, nobody is.
That's right. Nobody is.
I encourage anyone, Haralabab Vulgaris, who now owns talk about the golden life, man. Guy was a professional gambler, greatest NBA bettor of all time, made maybe $1 billion. That's probably overstating him, but close to it in crypto from his gambling winnings, bought a Spanish soccer team, and now they've moved up multiple divisions. What a life. But he also helped run the Mavs when they drafted Luka. Haralabab tweeted out a clip a few days ago of 25-year-old LeBron James, like a 4-minute clip of his blocks and dunks and everything, like reminding everyone, like, guys, what this guy was at his peak athleticism, it was unfathomable, and we haven't seen it like it since.
Yeah. LeBron is the only guarantee in American sports history. Let's just do basketball, football.
Yeah.
That there is no question that if he has chosen football, he would have been a multiple-time Pro Bowler.
Oh, yeah.
No question. Not even debatable. He would have been one of the best tight ends of all time. Let's stop debating it.
Right.
6'8", 250, fast with great hands and vision.
Right. And seemingly indestructible for 17 years. But okay. So there are obviously things LeBron could do that Luka never will be able to do because of the athleticism. But stylistically, they're very similar as far as I'm going to have the ball in my hands. I am going to control an offense. I will try to pick on people in a pick and roll. I will spoon feed players, open threes and lob dunks, like all of it. He's not going to be the defender LeBron was. There was a 5-year period where LeBron was every year was top 5 defensive player of the year voting, and I think twice or 3 times second place. He's not going to be that guy. My argument is he doesn't need to be. Can Luka be Steph Curry defensively? Obviously. Can he be Magic Johnson defensively? Obviously. Has he already shown improvement from where it was a few years ago? Yes. So here's what I think about Luka. I think that his bad defensive moments are so glaring and obvious because he's just not running down the court. He is just standing there. He's angry. And I also think every game he walks a fine line between, I am going to get so enraged with every fan, every ref, that I end up playing my best basketball, and I'm going to get so enraged with every fan, every ref, that it takes me out of my game, and I'm like almost playing in protest. He's got to mature in that regard. But the part of the Melo thing the reason I push back so much on that comp is that Luka already has done more winning than Melo did. Melo made a conference finals once. Luka did that in year 4. Luka's already made an NBA finals, and he is a willing passer of the ball, and a guy who has people bring up Harden because Harden was a willing passer of the ball. Harden, though, every single year of his career got worse in the playoffs. Luka, every year of his career, except for this one, his numbers have gotten better in the playoffs. So I just think that there was never a moment where Melo was credibly a consensus top 3 player. Luka is right now. And so I disagree with you on Luka.
By the way, I've said, I think Luka's a much better Carmelo Anthony. By the way, Michael was a better Kobe. Not always much better, but better. Kobe had better range. I thought Kobe was a really clever passer when he decided to. A very good ball handler. Michael was a better Kobe. I think Luke is a much better Carmelo. But there are traits and indifference to certain things like being in shape and defense.
Well, so the being in shape thing, he has to grow up on. Yeah. That part. So here's the deal. I think it is very, very difficult for people who have succeeded at every step. This guy's playing in the second biggest league in the world at 16 and won MVP of it at 18. And won the championship at 18, not in some small league, in the second best basketball league in the world to the NBA. He then gets to the NBA, wins Rookie of the Year, and then succeeds, carries the team to a conference finals. Last year, they fail, but it feels more about the team was weird that he and Kyrie didn't gel. This year, they make it all the way to the finals, and yes, he was banged up, but he also knows he was a little out of gas. I think it is very hard if anyone has a bad habit that they are succeeding despite, I don't think they ever kick it until that bad habit bites them.
Yep, I've said before, the only way you quit smoking is if your doctor says you're going to die.
Right. And there's a lot of people who, I'm going to again we're using dark analogies. There are a lot of people listening who were what I would call very regular tipsy drivers. It was just, never didn't call cabs, whatever. He's like, oh, my buddies have a few drinks, drive home, and did it hundreds of times and never were. And people were like, you shouldn't drive, and only stopped because they got pulled over and they got a DUI. Is, and again, that's a dark analogy, but the point is, if someone says to you, you've got to be in better shape, and you're like, oh, really? Because I keep averaging 35 points a game in the playoffs and being first team All NBA. But this year I know they made the finals, but he did seem out of gas at times.
Yeah.
And so in order to be able to play 100-game seasons, which is what he's got to do, he does have to be in better shape. That part's fair. And he can't always be mad at the refs. That part.
Yeah.
But I just think the reason I thought the focus on the defense was overstated was that Mavs didn't lose this finals because of the defense. The Mavs, this craziest stat of the NBA season is the worst 5-game stretch Boston had all year, as far as points scored, was the NBA Finals. They didn't have another 5-game stretch all year where they scored
kicked the Mavericks'
points,
ass.
and they killed them. The Mavs didn't lose because of their defense. They lost because they couldn't score, which was because of Boston's defense. It wasn't that Dallas's defense was a problem. It was that Boston's defense was A+ for 4 of those 5 games and strangled the Mavs offense.
So I'm going to throw this at you. There's so many bad actors on the internet. It's so bad.
Oh,
it's just...
Sweet Christ, man. Can I tell you what happened before you even throw it at me? Because I don't think people know what happened. Because there's always been bad actors, but it seems like out of nowhere, it has gotten way worse quickly. And so I have, I think, a very credible theory here. So remember how Elon made it so you can get paid off your tweets? So I don't think people really paid a lot of attention to that because people were like, I'm not paying for that $8 a month check mark, whatever. But so some of us a few months ago just got the check mark. It's like you're a notable account. We want you to have one, whatever it is. So I just got it. I got a notification a week ago saying you earned $810 last month. Like, huh? So, and I just tweet clips from the show and my takes.
Same here.
But because I got grandfathered into this program or whatever, I'm like, its monetization is available. So I guess if I give them my bank account info, which I don't know that I will do, but if I have $800 from my tweets in May. Okay. So why am I bringing that up? That didn't used to be a thing. It used to be you could grow a following and then maybe sell ads, whatever it is. But now it is direct deposit into your account based on interactions of your tweets. So now you have the worst actors in America who are incentivized to say the shittiest things or dishonest things, or like the totally harmless version of it is, oh man, people forget Peyton Pritchard is a problem. Like saying things just to get dunked on. Like people said Steph Curry can't shoot. But the worst version of it is, I am going to try to stoke racial tension in America through this video that will go viral because I'm literally going to make $1,000 off it.
Well, listen,
I think that's what's happening.
That's not a theory. That's exactly what's happening. That's not, listen, I'm not, you know me, I make fun of conspiracy theorists. I have a theory on conspiracy theories that as the world AI is just going to enhance this. We're going to get more and more conspiracy theories.
Yes.
And there's been an explosion of them. Why? Because the fluidity and the changes that technology are doing to our life, and people want answers. And so when people don't have answers, they lose their job, inflation, people are seeking stability and foundational truths, and they don't have answers. So conspiracy theories give people answers as their life gets more filled with anxiety. Psychologists have talked about this. So as technology is enhanced and dominates our society, you're going to get a more conspiracy-driven and science-y.
But this is not a conspircy theory. This is what's happening.
Yeah, this is what. So what's happening is, as AI is going to put a lot of people out of work, social media is going to become a real income for a lot of people. Now,
a lot of people.
I'll be as, I make a massive TV income, radio income, volume income, DraftKings. Like I I don't need social media. There's no value in it for me other than to promote my company.
Your businesses. Right. Exactly.
Right. So I don't even care about it. It doesn't matter to me. But for a lot of people, that even successful people, they don't have a radio show, a TV show. They make six figures on social media.
Dude,
so
Colin, I thought about it. If I could make $1,000 in a month by accident, right? Then I'm like, oh, that I was like, so just think, I was like, what the average income in this country is like around 50. I'm like, so then, yeah, of course there are going to be people out there that are just going to all day. And what do we know gets interaction and reaction? And because I don't know if you were taking this to Caitlin and Angel, I don't know where you were taking this initially, but what we know will make waves on Twitter in particular is anything to doing with racial tension or racial in either direction. And I see people tweeting out videos of clearly like obvious like skits, like old skits or scenes from an old, not Chappelle show, but something less famous, and presenting it as if this was a real life thing that happened, purely because idiots will believe it. People who aren't full-blown idiots will think, oh, I'm going to dunk on this person. Meanwhile, they're just like, well, I just made $40. I do 10 of these in a day, and I make more money than I was going to make at my job. And it is just flooded. They have flooded the zone with nonsense and bullshit.
By the way, there are people in our industry who have credible jobs who are using YouTube to the same degree, making $30,000 on a YouTube clip talking about their sex life, politics, all sorts of stuff. So it's at some point your soul can't, your foundational belief system can't be about the dollar sign. Like you have to care about, and I'm not lecturing you folks, do what you want to do, but here's where I was going with this.
Yeah, sorry, I took you.
No, don't be sorry. This is why I do a podcast. Yeah. Is that there's so many bad actors on the internet that will just dunk on the NBA. They don't care. They got their money. When I hear people criticize Howard Stern, Howard makes $120 million a year at SiriusXM. Do you think he gives a shit that he doesn't have the water cooler currency? He's got a $70 to $90 million home on the beach. I've seen it in Boca Raton, the highest. He's got the two highest real estate properties in the East, the Hampton, Sag Harbor, and Boca. Howard owns arguably the nicest home in both. He doesn't give an F. And people are like, Howard doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And I think about this. Like the NBA got the bag. They're going to get they're doing basically what the NFL did. They're going to get a fourth network to arguably overpay for it. They don't care. The ratings are up to the people who pay for the money. That's up to NBC, ESPN. The owners in the league and the players don't give a shit. Don't watch it. They don't care.
And so there were a lot of people highly invested in the idea that any company that pays even just lip service to the idea that, black folks spend money too, and gay folks spend money too, that business model will fucking ruin them. And they even came up with a super unique, original 150 IQ slogan, go woke, go broke. Meanwhile, we're at zero broke. We're at zero companies that previously were rolling that are now like, God damn, you know what? We put Black Lives Matter on the court and now nobody's going to games. And they then try to twist themselves in knots and act like that, they're not doing it, or it caught. No, it didn't. There is now again, because I am not a bad faith actor, I will acknowledge. I do think there was a time, and I do think it hurt the ratings in multiple sports where people felt there was too much. Like we
Yeah,
had overcorrected, and
I agree.
there was too much, whether you want to call it politics, social justice,
Yeah,
anything in our sports, and people got annoyed by it. I do think that happened.
same here.
But it was presented as if it's going to be a death knell when it was a paper cut. And it was the same folks that that when Nike signed Kaepernick were like, "Oh, check out Nike's stock today." It's like, "Oh, can we get an update on that? Hey, can we did Nike all of a sudden in the last 4 years start flying MAGA flags, or are they still pretty much as woke of a company as there is?" I think they are. I think they're doing just fine. And this is where the people making those arguments were either bad faith actors or morons. And that one I'm comfortable with. The people making the argument of the NBA is
In big trouble.
itself. In big trouble. Like, buddy, were the ratings for this specific finals down? Yeah.
Yeah.
In the midst of it being down, did they get $75 billion? Did they triple their TV deal? Was it extortion? No. In fact, you have major corporations who might end up making changes at the top of the company because they screwed up by not getting the NBA. So it was always bad faith. It was just always bad faith actors that are very, very invested in the idea that everyone thinks like them. So I'm aware, like I try to be self-aware of it, and I try to be conscious of it. I'm aware that a lot of people who watch the TV show have very different politics than I do, which is why I think I keep it out of it almost entirely. As I've said to you before, I don't think talking about race is talking politics. So I will talk race. I don't talk any politics. When you and I are talking, even though I understand there are people listening that have very different politics than me, I feel like, you know what? You are opting into a Nick Wright, Colin Cowherd conversation. I am going to respect that and give you my true, authentic thoughts on everything, and hope we can understand that even if we disagree, we can, agree on other certain things. But I know that how I feel is not how the whole world feels. There is a segment of the population that is really invested in trying to convince people that 80% of the country plus agrees with them, and this tiny minority that doesn't somehow, oddly, weirdly, controls everything. Controls all these major corporations, the sports leagues, the media, everything. And it's like, no, I just think Target has done the market research. It's like, hey, we're going to sell more t-shirts if people think we're nice. I don't think they're trying to do some social engineering. I think they're trying to sell as many things as possible. And so that's my answer.
Listen, even left-leaning, I would say, Saturday Night Live tends to lean more left than right. They've made fun of woke. Bill Maher's made fun of woke. There are things that go too far. Is that, my theory on America is that in the end, the more change you have in technology and the more change you have in the culture, the more people want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, macaroni and cheese, and hang out with their dog. We seek simplicity as the world gets more complex. So I think, to me, one of the things I think about constantly on my show is simplifying complicated things. Is that people are on, right? That's literally what I think about. Whatever you think about, I think about that constantly.
Which is why, which is a very smart way to go about it. But so that's where, so I have, I hope, the self-awareness and the honesty to be able to be like, yeah, there are things that people that are in my political tribe, if you will, that they say or espouse that I'm like, yeah, I'm not with that. It doesn't kill me, but it's not where I would go. What I feel like fundamentally, though, most people are more bothered by people that intentionally err on the side of mean than people that go out of their way to be nice, even if the way they're going out of their way to be nice, it's like, okay, that's a little much. You know what I mean? Like, and that's, to me, that's why. So that's why so much of the complaints about the NBA stuff was, to me, people telling on themselves. Where I'm like, you're writing on Twitter. You saw end racism on the baseline where there used to be a YouTube TV ad, and now you're like, I'm turning the game off. Like, shut up. Like, it was if at halftime of the game, Jason Tatum came out and was like, now I want to, give you a history lesson about this, that'd be one thing. But I'm like, I just think you are bothered by an idea that you can't quite explain, and it pisses you off. You don't know why. And I think the smartest corporations and companies have been like, that's actually just a loud contingent on the internet. And the majority of people are either support us or like, not my thing, but not enough for me to change the channel, or not enough for me to drive to the store down the street when this one, they're flying a pride flag. Okay, well, they also have the cheapest diapers. So I just think I'm going to go there. Like, it's just so stupid.
So okay, like everybody is, I think I'm pretty normal. I grew up in a small town, blah, blah, blah. I don't have a lot of hobbies. I've told you before, I like real estate because my wife's a designer. I like design. I like architecture. Like, I like aviation and architecture. Things are fascinating. I can watch stuff on, true crime, airplanes, architecture. Those are like weird hobbies for me, right? Like you are very mathy. You love poker. You like gambling.
By the way, I got to, then I interrupted you, but because of the Euros, the soccer tournament, I have no show Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Friday night, flying to Vegas, playing in a couple World Series, because World Series of Poker's going on. So I'm playing in a couple World Series of poker. No, these I don't need alone. These are not the biggest tournament I'll play in, costs like $5,000. This isn't the 50,000 against Helmuth. But I'm playing in a couple tournaments. Thank you for the offer. This weekend. So yeah, I'm Matthew. You're out here being like, all right, if I buy this house and renovate it and flip it, I can make $1 million. And I'm like, okay, well, sorry, I didn't mean that bad. And I'm like, if I buy into this poker tournament and win it, I can make $1 million. Like, it's just different types of ideas. But go ahead.
Right, we're trying to land in the same spot, I guess.
Land in the same spot, doing something as a hobby that we're kind of passionate about. That's what I meant. I didn't even mean it as a shot. Like, you like real estate, you like the idea, your wife likes the beauty of it. And if at the end of it, you can also make some money out of it, that's a bonus. That's great.
Yeah. And I also pitched a series to a company recently, and they accepted it. So I'm not going to get too much into that. It's pretty fascinating. So what I like is storytelling. I like true crime. I think real estate storytelling. I buy beat up places. We create an image. We kind of create a house that's a story. In me, that's how I view it. So I tend to like journeys. I like building stuff. I like journeys. I would say that's one of my weird idiosyncratic things. So, but I was thinking about this, about summer plans, is that this is strange. Everybody's got a weird habit. But I honestly think, obviously, I love spending time with my kids, my wife, and animals. But one of the joys as I get older, just tell me if I'm weird.
Yeah.
is
You're
going
definitely
on
weird, but go ahead.
2-hour walks by myself on the beach. Nothing, nobody, and talking to myself and working out my problems. And when I go to Watch Hill in the summer, I go on that beach and I don't even take a phone. And I go on these 2-hour walks and it's therapy. I think about my kids. I talk to myself. And I have found later in life, and I'd like to encourage the rest of America to do it. Not only talk to yourself, have conversations, do it regularly. Nick, I am going there. I'm taking the first time in my career, I'm taking 2 weeks off during my show. I've never done that.
Okay. Yep.
But I believe as college football is exploding this year with the Big Ten explosion, that I'm going to work Saturdays. And so I think I've talked to my bosses at Fox, and I said, I think we have to kind of revisit the way we do this business, that July and August do not matter anymore. Fox is very much a fall company, and now with the UFL, a spring company. I'm going to take 2 weeks off, and I'm going to go and just go to the beach and just go on these walks.
What beach? Hold on. You said a beach, but I don't. Is that
I have a
in
little
Rhode
private
Island?
beach by where I live. Yeah, by where I live.
In Rhode Island?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Go ahead.
So as I tell you this story, I think to myself, I'm giving something of myself, and it's really weird. And when you're a public figure to any level, you don't want to be weird. It's off-putting to the audience. The audience doesn't want to hear your weird, odd behavior. I will go walk every day for 2 hours and talk to myself and work myself through my problems. And I've seen people look at me talking to myself on the beach, and they're like,
all right. Well, let me.
they'll move away. They move away.
I can
solve
solve that for you. So 2 things. I have a lot of.
I want you.
You want me to share what my weird thing is? Is that, or you want me to do it?
Yes.
Would you?
No, I want you to share it.
Okay, that's fine. First,
this is like our
first. Let me.
therapy,
That's
revelation.
fine. I love it. I love this. First, let me respond to what you were saying. The first point is this. If you just put an AirPod in, people will just think you're on the phone. They won't think you're weird. So I just solved half your problem. All right. So don't worry. It's aware have an AirPod in. That's the first part. Second part is walking on the beach being therapeutic, not a unique Colin Cowherd thing. So nobody thinks you're weird for that. That's pretty, that's kind of why people love the beach, like walking on the beach. Talking to yourself for 2 hours, probably weird for 99% of the country. However, not weird for Colin Cowherd. You're like, oh, you're going to be Colin. Here's the deal. You talk to yourself for 3 hours every day. That. You're taking a break from the show to do a version of the show that's just based on self-improvement instead of on a studio and a beach. It makes sense. I don't think anyone's freaked out by it. I think it's great. If you're asking me what my weirdest thing is, I don't know. Are you asking me my weird, so, I mean,
Nick, you have to have something.
Oh, yeah.
To create how you think. There's got to be a process that you go through that the milkman doesn't. There's got to be something. There's a process too. By the way, these people that can, to me, it's fascinating. My wife paints. People that can go to a canvas and paint.
Yeah.
It's like,
okay, so the thing with me in that regard, thing with me in that regard used to be, and I think I've told you this before, was I built those nano blocks. And so everybody knows what Legos are.
Yeah.
Nano blocks are Legos, except they're called nano blocks because the pieces are literally 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter, and they are all, so like the whole thing's like this big, and but it might be 600 pieces, and they are all replicas of historic buildings. And I created every single one that existed, and then did like a deep dive on the ones that weren't available to purchase anymore and bought them like on eBay aftermarket for a few $100s and built the whole set. And it was because, so what I find therapeutic is creating something that when I'm done exists, because what we do is so ephemeral.
Yeah.
We do a show, and the moment it ends, it's just in the ether. It's just gone. And I think part of this probably is, for me, based on the fact that I just did talk radio for 10 years in the kind of early stages of social media where there weren't even clips that lived on. It would just be, I would do a 4-hour solo radio show. It would be over. And there's no podcast. There are no clips. If you heard it live, you heard it. If not, it was a tree falling in the woods. And the next day I'd do it again. And that was it's a very weird thing about our specific job, which is if you build a house, at the end of it, there's a fucking house standing there. You do a great show. At the end of it, it's like, all right, see you here tomorrow. We're just, there's no finished product.
Yeah.
And
no, I get it.
I like jigsaw puzzles. I like crossword puzzles. I like Legos a lot.
Yeah.
If I had an actual skill for building, I think I would like to build things, but I don't know I don't know how to like build a table or something. But I like something that when I'm finished with it, I can put it on a shelf. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, that's there. I did it. Enough so this is the weird thing. My youngest daughter and I the other day did a 700-piece like Disney puzzle. And we had done it before years ago, and then it was in the box. We did it again. And then I came home and it was sitting on like our table in the living room. And then I came home one day and it was gone. And I said to my wife, I was like, what happened to the puzzle? She was like, well, I put it in the box. I'm like, what do you mean you put it in the box? She was like, what did you think? Like that was just going to stay on our it's a puzzle of Mickey and Minnie Mouse. Like it's not, I was like, what do you mean? I was like, she was like, I told her, I was like, I was going to keep it. And she looked at me like I was insane. She's like, what does that even mean? She's like, how are you going to keep a 4-foot-long puzzle? Like, what do you mean? And I probably wasn't going to do this, but in the moment I thought I was like, I was going to get a piece of poster board with like glue and get it on there and preserve it. So it's there. And she looked at me again like I have 3 heads. She's like, and then do what with it? And I was like, I don't know, probably put it under a bed or in a closet, but it would be there. I would have it. I finished this thing and I want the documentation of it. It's why I think we're doing real introspection. I think I would enjoy being a writer. I don't think I have the skill for it necessarily, but because a writer is similar not skill set, but creativity of what we do. But at the end of it, there's a thing, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I wrote this article or I wrote this book. There's a completion. I really do struggle with the fact that what I do for a living every day, it just evaporates kind of. And so, yeah, so I do also like walking on the beach, but I don't talk to myself. I just smoke cigarettes hiding from my family. I just smoke a Black & Mild or a cigarette.
So, I was thinking about this is the Lakers still haven't named a coach, and they're just a mess. You could argue.
Would you let Rob Pelinka run the volume?
Well, no, because it's a different business. I would not. No.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
He's one of those guys
put you in a bad spot.
No, but he's one of those guys that's really a good-looking guy with a lot of confidence and bright, and that gets you a long way in life.
And great relationships.
Great.
That's the good-looking, smart, and friends. Good social. At cocktail parties, social. Those are a lot of skeleton keys to life. That is true. That is true. Go ahead.
And I think, and it's not a knock on Rob, but he's good looking, social, relationships, and bright enough, and it just works.
Yeah.
And then in a weird way, the worst thing that could have happened to the Lakers is LeBron coming. Because LeBron has done this for franchises his whole career, except Miami. Remember that thing you used to use when we used typewriters called whiteout?
Yeah.
That you make a mistake and you could white it out. LeBron's like that for basketball franchises. Shitty GMs, average coaches. LeBron just wins championships. Like he just, even more than Michael, who needed Pippen, who needed Phil. LeBron got every coach to the finals. It doesn't matter. And so he's the great eraser. Is that people forget how bad the Lakers were for a long stretch pre-LeBron.
6 years.
And yeah. And then LeBron comes, they win in the bubble, which was a weird year. And people forget how mostly bad they've been with LeBron. Take the bubble year out. I mean, that's the year Harbaugh's team was terrible and Belichick's was terrible. Like that year was Harbaugh had a losing season.
Can I just say something real quick? Because I have to defend the bubble. Before any of us had ever heard the word coronavirus, the Lakers had the best record in the NBA. So I think that team, it was the last year we ever had LeBron before he suffered his first significant injury of his career, the Solomon Hill thing with his ankle. Anthony Davis, the best we ever saw him. So I do think that was the best team in basketball under any circumstances, but that doesn't change your point. The point is that they've had 10 years.
One 50-win season.
Yes.
And they will go into this season. Then on any night where LeBron or AD, and this will happen often, in the regular season, take a night off, Austin Reeves is your second best player. He does not start for Boston, nor do I think he starts for Denver. And I'm not sure he starts for Oklahoma City. That LeBron coming to the Lakers, LeBron coming to the Lakers got you a COVID bubble title. For a franchise with 12, who gives a shit? In the end, it has masked a 11 to 12 year run of large incompetency or suboptimal guidance upstairs.
So again, I think I think that title's as legitimate as anyone, but I don't think it changes your point, which is they have in both the Tatum and Brown drafts, they had the pick before Tatum and Brown. They had the number 2 pick both years. They took Lonzo and Ingram. And by the way, I have tweets out there saying I liked Lonzo more than I liked Tatum. I missed that. And here's the thing on that. People often say, oh, well, you had that wrong too. Guys, it's not I have a lot of things I'm looking at. Figuring out the single best draft pick for the Lakers is not literally my only job. So to compare how I would have done as Lakers GM, when by that same metric, I am the GM of 30 NBA teams, 32 NFL teams, a couple baseball teams, and doing other things, it's nonsense. Yes, I would have gotten it wrong. It's the Lakers' job to get it right. There's that. There is the fact that they were either too cheap or too incompetent to keep Austin Reeves when he has the numbers of him and LeBron on the court together were better even than LeBron and
Alex
AD.
Caruso? You mean
what
Alex
did I
Caruso?
say? I'm sorry.
Austin Reeves.
I'm sorry. Alex Caruso. Yeah. That was a little racism by me there, conflating those two. But yes, I did mean Alex Caruso. They either were too cheap or incompetent to keep Alex Caruso. LeBron wanted, no question, LeBron wanted Russell Westbrook. But LeBron wanted Kyrie Irving, and they found a way to say no to that. LeBron wanted Ty Lue. They found a way to say no to that. They said yes to Russell Westbrook because they wanted him too, because they're about stars. And then they mortified themselves with this coaching search. This is horrifying, man.
Horrifying.
Danny Hurley told you he was to the point where he's talking to LeBron. And the Detroit Pistons are willing to pay Monty Williams more money to not coach them than the Lakers were willing to offer Danny Hurley to coach them. They're not as serious. They are a family business that is being run by Linda Rambis, Kurt Rambis, Kobe's former agent Rob Pelinka, and Jeannie Buss. And this is what frustrates me so much about, because there's still a contingent of Laker fans that are really Kobe fans that are hostile towards LeBron. The only reason this team has not been in the wilderness since the first term of the Obama administration.
That's right.
Is LeBron decided he wanted to live in LA. Not even, you had built a fun team that made sense. Nope. I want to live in Los Angeles, find the cap space, I'll do the rest. I will get us Anthony Davis and we'll instantly win a title. And then, so I don't think you could squander a situation more readily than the Lakers have as an organization. And they fired Darvin Ham 7 weeks ago. 7 weeks ago.
And they didn't have an answer. Why would you ever fire somebody? If a company fired me, I can assure you they'd have a plan. Lakers have no plan. No plan.
What? And the Danny Hurley thing was this is where I've said this to you before, I'll say it again. One of my favorite lines from an all-time movie, Casino, when De Niro is on the casino floor with the state assemblyman's nephew or whatever, the cowboy that had the job that he didn't deserve. And there had been 3 slot jackpots in a row. And De Niro's losing his mind because it was a scam. He says to him, you're fired. And the guy's like, I'm fired? He's like, you're effing fired. He's like, I'm fired? He's like, yeah, you're fired. Because either you were in on it or you were too dumb to know you were being scammed. Either way, you got to go. That's how I feel about the Danny Hurley situation. There are 2 doors you can walk through on that. Either you never actually intended to hire him and you thought having that story out there would be good PR and soften the blow of eventually hiring JJ Redick, or you really did want to hire him and you thought $11 million a year was going to get it done. So either you were trying to run a scam on your fan base or you were too incompetent to get your guy. Either way, you're unqualified. You are unqualified. And this is why I brought up Pelinka. That is, in a lot of industries, man, that is a fireable offense.
Oh, yeah.
If you have, let's say, I'm not going to compare you to Darvin Ham. That's unfair. But if you get fired and the company's like, trust us, and then very publicly goes after someone that everybody thinks, oh, well, that would be great. Oh, they're getting Costas. I don't know. I'm just making up. Whatever it is. And then that person says, nah, don't want it. And the next day does 7 radio shows telling everyone about why he didn't take the job and makes a fool of you. That person who screwed that up usually is held to account. And instead, we're just left with, they had a good meeting with JJ Redick. Like, give me a break. You're the Los Angeles Lakers.
Crazy.
It's mortifying. It's mortifying, man.
It is. So, I want to go back to something we talked about earlier. I think you know this. I like structural things. I like building stuff. I like structural things. I think it's an amazing time. I think something is happening in television, in media, in sports that's really, really fascinating is that because basically television now, the platform of television may be shrinking, but it's all sports. I've told you this before. If TikTok banned everything except cooking and culinary stuff on TikTok,
Yeah.
and it lost 70% of its audience, it would be great for culinary because it would be the only thing on TikTok. You don't have to own a platform. If you're the only thing on the platform, it's powerful. And I think a lot of media critics say, oh, cable TV is losing its audience. The only thing that works on TV today, the only thing is sports, and every 4 years, politics. So television now is just, Fox has said on Fridays, we're doing sports. Well, weekends were sports. We're going to Fridays. In fact, if they had the Amazon Thursday games, I think Fox would say Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're a sports network. 3 days of primetime non-sports. And so I think what's one of the things that's interesting is that the explosion, Caitlin Clark is clearly a catalyst for a business that was, and let's be honest, whereas Tiger and Conor McGregor elevated their sports, Caitlin to some degree financially saved the WNBA. It was hemorrhaging money for years.
So let me, can I just, before you get to the point, so I think that people have a hard time saying that or accepting that.
Yeah.
Both of these things can be true. It is good, and I think worthwhile, and I'm glad that pre-Caitlin Clark, there was a women's professional basketball league in America that was treated as a big-time league and deserved to be. Okay?
Yeah.
That is true.
And was improving in terms of basketball annually.
Absolutely. Here's what's also true. There is proof of concept overseas that women's basketball can be profitable. That's why poor Brittany Griner, ended up in prison, was because a lot of these women go overseas, make a lot more money, and that's not charity. They're not getting paid out of charity. They're because those leagues in those countries had found ways to monetize it in a way the WNBA hadn't. The WNBA was not well run.
Right.
Flatly. They had a product that could be monetized in a way that it was not. I'm not saying the teams weren't well run. I'm saying the league, as far as whoever was in charge of generating revenue, but the fact of the matter is, whose ever fault it was a league that as a business was not a highly successful one at all. It's why you could get a franchise for $50 million. Well, the franchise fee. So it can be true that it had the potential, as being proven right now, to potentially be a super valuable business, but was not being treated or run as such. And I think that was an oversight maybe by the upper echelon of leadership. And now with Caitlin, they have no choice but to adapt and evolve because there's going to be money pouring in because there's so many more eyeballs on it now.
But as I was thinking about this, is that there's always been this gap. I tend to think of our shows, in terms of, like almost color coded, like Red Hot is Labor Day until February 23rd. Right.
Yep.
And then it cools down. It's an orange, a hue for NFL free agency. March Madness was pretty good. I thought college basketball had a good year. Women helping with that. And then the draft, and that's like orange. And then it goes back to a little stronger orange for the NBA playoffs. Then it's blue. It's cool. Like we got 2 months of cool. And I will say that, every 4 years, World Cups, the Copas, Euros, those are very good for Fox. Those get good numbers. They're fascinating. But I will say this selfishly, is that the WNBA has become, on a fairly regular basis, it will fill a segment every day on my show. And I'm not doing it because I don't talk hockey much. I'm not doing it as a reach. And I was thinking about this. How people get famous. Some people get famous on art. Mr. Rogers got famous on decency. some people get famous or infamous on controversy, accidental or as a la provocateur.
Mhm.
And that not only is Caitlin Clark a catalyst, but the racial component and the underdog being picked on is a component. And it's a little like golf, where a very insular country club, predominantly white, wealthy sport, had this profoundly popular, historically fantastic player. And that was part of the Tiger story. He was new on many levels. And I do think, and I'm not saying there is a racial component to the WNBA, but every business needs a catalyst, and every business, their explosion is different. Some it's controversy, some it's, and so
I'll use go ahead.
yeah.
Sorry.
So I think the Caitlin and the physicality, I look at it and I think, hey, just look at the WNBA as an American business. It is an American business, and their catalyst is an underdog from middle America, and there's a racial component. That is a story 100 years old in America. It could be, there's a million businesses where that has been the case. The sports one that there's a little correlation is Tiger, although Tiger was profoundly dominant very early.
Yeah. I don't, the only part of that is I think the media, some media is treating Caitlin as more of an underdog than she actually is. I don't view her
Right.
as an underdog as much as I view her as just a rookie who is going through, rookie growing pains, ebbs and flows.
But is a really good player.
But is a really good player. You were talking about the way it doesn't, I'm going to use a maybe unfortunate example, but I'll use it. As far as it doesn't really matter why you get famous, it matters what you do with it. Yeah. And I think maybe the perfect example of that is Kim Kardashian. So Kim Kardashian was semi-famous, a little famous, and then became uber famous momentarily because of a sex tape, flatly. Yeah. And what did she do with it? Created a multi-billion-dollar business based off her skill, talent, and beauty, flatly. Yeah. She has one of the longest running hit television shows. She has, more, clothing line or makeup line. I'm not all the way up to date on everything the Kardashians are doing, but she took that spark and turned it into a forest fire. And that is what I'm hoping the WNBA can do with this. You have Caitlin is the spark. The rivalry, which dates back to college with Angel Reese, is real gas on that spark. The at times absurd media attention is turning it into a real fire that at times the wrong things are being focused on, and to go back to our bad actors on the internet stuff, there's a lot of grossness surrounded with it. But even if it's just by accident, there are a lot more eyeballs on this league. Enough so, everyone in the sports world today was aware, oh man, Cameron Brink tore ACL yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, that sucks. Think about that. 2 years ago, there was not, if the third most famous WNBA rookie got hurt mid-season, it's not like one of the biggest things that happened in the sports world that day from an attention standpoint. People now care. And that sounded wrong. I know some people cared already.
I get it.
But now
it's relevant.
Now it has a relevance that it's a zeitgeist effect that it didn't before. It is a bigger tent. Or it's the same size tent and more people are crowding in. And some of those people are real assholes, and I kind of wish they would leave. But they're here too. And so I agree with you. It's how because I love tennis.
Yeah.
I was hoping, like, man, can someone in the big three tennis become like controversial or where America cares? Because I would love to have some Nadal, Federer, Djokovic 7 years ago discussions. but my audience didn't care enough. So on the podcast, I do Nick's tennis corner during the majors, and that's it because I respect what the audience wants. But Colin, I was on your TV show for 20 minutes on the Tuesday after the NBA Finals wrapped. And we spent as much time on Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese as we did on Game 5 of the Finals. And it was a smart programming decision because people have takes and people are invested. And I also think, by the way, the other important thing, what was a bummer for golf was nobody was able to carry on from Tiger. There wasn't, there were, you know, like there wasn't it was purely Tiger dependent. And the people like, it was like, oh, is it going to be Rory? Is it going to be this? It wasn't really anybody. With the WNBA, the hope is you have this rookie, you have all the stars are already there. And you have this rookie class. Next year, you're going to have Paige from UConn coming in. Paige, who was supposed to be Caitlin before Caitlin as far as like transcendent star. And the young woman at USC, Juju, might be the best of everybody.
Yeah, she's clever.
And then you're not just relying on, you know, oh, this person's out for the year.
Well, let's remember,
guys, in a year.
America likes football and basketball. We like our basketball. I mean, hell, I mean, we watch women's basketball in college. We like men's college basketball. We like the NBA. So this country, there's been experimental leagues, you know, the Ice Cube League. So the truth is, there is no experimental baseball league that works, but there's experimental football and basketball leagues. The UFL was getting 1.3 million
people. Yeah.
So like, this is, I think, basketball and football. If you really break down what America likes, Europe likes soccer. They just love it. And we love, in America, we like our basketball and our football. You can develop stuff off both. And I think, so I do think there's a very good chance that Caitlin will create, she is the catalyst, and we will start. Now, we may never have quite a Tiger, but Rory's not Tiger either. Either is DeChambeau or Brooks, but they're captivating. They move the needle.
They're captivating, and there is a level of there's a level of introduction.
Yeah,
the catalyst creates introduction, which is there are now going to be people who are like, oh man, A'ja Wilson is awesome. I like her style. I like the way she plays. I think she's the best. That weren't watching before, didn't know, but now they're fans of hers because they came to the party because they're like, oh, I got to see what this Caitlin Clark thing's all about. And the other thing that I do think people that didn't watch the WNBA will like, James Jones made this point on your show, is because there's less flying, it's more physical, and there is also I'm just going to be totally honest, the added dynamic of like occasionally you get a game where it's like, oh, those two used to date and they broke up and they don't like each other. No, that did happen recently.
Yeah.
There is also the added element of real bad blood that the NBA there's a lot of the stuff people said they wanted from the NBA, physicality and not so much buddy. You're getting that from the WNBA.
That's right.
You are 100% getting it. And if you can get over the fact that if you don't have some preconceived bias of, oh, I don't want to watch women's sports, it's good. And the storylines are interesting.
Yeah.
And there is everybody likes the nobody believed in us teams, and everybody likes chip on your shoulder.
Yeah.
And in a league where everyone feels a little underpaid, probably fairly, everyone feels a little disrespected because of the attention one rookie is getting. There's a lot of chip on your shoulder. There's a lot of nobody believes in us, and it creates real captivating content, in my opinion.
Nick, we went an hour 15.
It was great. I loved it. You finished your cocktail. I finished my glass of wine a long time ago. It is, yeah, it's great. It is Juneteenth in Harlem. There is a big event going on right in front of my wife's store. And so I'm going to leave here and go down there and kind of be with the city. So it'll be great. Congratulations, man. I mean, honestly, your two favorite people to talk to in the world today. You got to talk to me and Tommy. Great? See you. Talk to you later, Colin. Bye,
buddy. Bye.